Hello Year 5, I hope you enjoyed finding out about the instruments yesterday, and today we are on to Chapter 10. On the TV, Doc Brown is hanging from the clock tower as Marty McFly accelerates the DeLorean to 88 miles per hour, ready to take the time machine back to the future. It's weird. I must have seen this film at least 50 times, but even though the story is exactly the same, the Marty McFly in this movie looks completely different. I guess some other actor must have played the part in this parallel universe, but I'm not really watching the film. I'm just sitting on the living room sofa, waiting for Grandad Joe to start talking to me. He's not said a word since he turned up at the museum to take me home, listening in silence as Miss Benjamin angrily listed my crimes. Destruction of an animatronic animal orchestra, demolition of the kangaroos versus crocodiles cricket match, attempted theft of an antique stuffed platypus. Even when Miss Benjamin told Grandad Joe that I was suspended from school for a week pending further inquiries, he hadn't said a word. Instead, we'd walked back home together in silence before he sat down in his armchair with a heavy sigh, turning on the TV that was still showing the same film I'd last seen in another universe. I shouldn't care about any of this. I can just climb back inside my cardboard box and leave this mess for bad Albie to sort out. After all, none of this would have happened if he hadn't forced me to go to school instead of him. But then I see the look of disappointment on Grandad Joe's face, and I can't help feeling that I've let him down. "Grandad," I say, desperately wishing that he'd talk to me, but he just sits in his armchair, staring at the TV as the lightning hits the clock tower. "Grandad," I say again, a bit louder this time in case he's going deaf. Grandad Joe sighs in reply. "I can't even look at you, Albie," he says as the DeLorean disappears in a flash of electricity. "Not after what you've done this time." "But I didn't mean to." "I used to take your mum to that museum when she was a little girl," he tells me. "Of course, it wasn't called Fusion then. It was the Clackthorpe Museum of Natural History and Mechanical Wonders. Charlotte used to love looking at all the animals. She'd keep on asking me questions. How high can a kangaroo hop? What's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Why is it that every animal is different? Your mum told me once that it was looking at the animals in the museum that made her want to be a scientist when she grew up, and I've just had to listen to your teacher telling me that you've destroyed half of these creatures with your stupid prank." Shaking his head, Grandad Joe rubs his eyes, trying to hide the sadness that started to leak out. "What do you think your mum would say?" This makes me feel like I've just been punched in the stomach. Of all the things Grandad Joe could say to me, this is the absolute worst. Everything that I've done has been for my mum. Inventing the quantum banana theory, risking my life to kidnap a psychopathic cat, travelling to a parallel universe. But how can I explain any of this to Grandad Joe? There's only one thing I can say. "I'm sorry, Grandad." "Are you?" he asks doubtfully, looking at me for the first time. "That's what you always say. Look, Albie, I know your dad's not around much at the moment, rushing back and forth with his cold fusion thingamajigs, but that's no excuse for the way you're behaving. I know you think I'm a silly old man who can't even cook dinner without burning it, but your dad is trying to make the world a better place for you to grow up in." I can see the tears in Grandad's eyes as he stares into mine. "When I look at you, Albie, I can see my Charlotte too. You're the spitting image of your mum. She wanted to make the world a better place too, and now it's up to you to make her proud." I nod my head, fighting back my own tears. Make her proud. That's all I've ever wanted to do. "Don't worry, Grandad," I tell him, trying to keep my emotions in check as I get up off the sofa. "I'm going to put things right." As I climb the stairs up to the attic, a guilty feeling follows me. Everything Grandad Joe said is whirring around my head, but I can't face up to it now. All I want to do is get out of this place. Part of me feels like I'm running away, but if I'm going to put things right, then I need to find my mum. My bedroom door is open, and as I step inside, it looks like the coast is clear. The cardboard box is waiting for me in the corner of the room, my ticket out of this parallel universe. I only hope that it's not a one-way ticket. What if the quantum banana theory doesn't work again? I try and push this nagging worry to the back of my mind. Kneeling down, I check that everything is in the right place. The Geiger counter is still hooked up to my mum's laptop, the banana in front of it now covered in brown splotches. It looks like I'm ready to go. "What do you think you're doing?" At the sound of my own voice, I spin round to see Bad Albie standing in the doorway, a cartoon scowl scrawled across his face. "I sent you to school to keep everyone off my back, but you've just made things 1,000 times worse. You've wrecked the museum, got me suspended from school, and when Dad finds out, he's going to ground me forever. What's the big idea? I thought you clones were supposed to do what you're told." He glares at me as if daring me to disagree. "I told you before," I snap back at him. "I'm not a clone. I'm you, from a parallel universe." Bad Albie just looks at me like I'm a moron. A parallel what? But I don't get the chance to answer his question as a ginger streak of fur rockets into the room. "What the?" With a meow that sounds like a panther with a hangover, Dylan darts past Bad Albie and dives inside the cardboard box, its flaps falling shut behind him. For a second, we both stand there in stunned silence. Then I hear the clicking sound of the Geiger counter inside. "No, not without me." "Was that a cat?" the other Albie asks, looking kind of worried as he walks towards the box. He grabs hold of the gardening gloves that I wore when I first arrived here, picking them up off the floor. "We've got to get it out of that box before it thinks it's kitty litter time and stinks out my room." He shoves the gloves into my hands. Get ready to grab it when I open the flaps. Leaning forward, Bad Albie slowly opens the box, waiting for the cat to spring out. Nothing happens. With a puzzled look on his face, he peers inside to find a banana, a Geiger counter, and my mum's laptop. There is no cat. Dylan has done it again. Scratching his head, Bad Albie turns back to look at me in confusion. "Where's the cat gone?" So I tell him about the quantum banana theory. When I finish explaining everything, Bad Albie is still scratching his head. "So you're telling me that my next-door neighbour's cat is now in a parallel universe?" "No, Dylan's my next-door neighbour's cat," I correct him. "And you're from a parallel universe too?" "Yes, that's what I told you." A huge grin lights up my evil twin's face. "This is brilliant." This is when I find out that the one thing worse than an alternative universe Albie who doesn't believe me is one who does. "So if I climb inside this box, I'll travel to a parallel universe?" he asks, peering at my mum's laptop as a stream of zeros and ones pulse across the screen. "Yes, but you see, the important thing is we can find Mum and..." Bad Albie shakes his head. "I don't care about my mum. I never even knew her. No, if this magic box can take me to another world, I'm going to find the one where my stupid dad's not giving all his money away to charity." He narrows his eyes as he stares back at me. "I should be a millionaire. And in a parallel universe, I will be." For a second, I'm lost for words. How can he say he doesn't care about Mum? She's the reason I invented the quantum banana theory. The only thing that matters is finding her again. "Come on," Bad Albie growls. "What do I need to do to get this thing working?" If I let Bad Albie climb inside that box, he'll wreck everything. I've got to think of a way to stop him. I've still got hold of the gardening gloves, and as I glance down at them, a crazy idea jumps into my mind. I just need to convince this other Albie that it's true. "If you want to travel to a parallel universe, then you've got to wear the right gear," I tell him, throwing the gloves straight back at him, just like I did. Catching hold of them, Bad Albie looks at me like I just told him to wear a tutu. "A pair of gardening gloves." He couldn't sound more suspicious. But if this plan's going to work, I've got to convince him. "Not just the gloves," I say. "You need to wear the mask and the body armour too. You don't want your insides turned into spaghetti when you go through the black hole into a parallel universe, do you? The body armour will keep all your bits in place, and the mask will protect your face from the cosmic rays." Bad Albie looks down at the scary clown Halloween mask and my BMX body armour, which is still lying on the floor where I left it. "Are you sure?" he asks doubtfully. "It got me here in one piece, didn't it?" I tell him, picking up the protective vest and pushing it into his hands. "But if you want to risk your insides being squeezed out of your eyes like toothpaste from a tube, you go right ahead." Still grumbling, bad Albie starts to pull the chest armour on. This is my only chance. While he's trying to pull the BMX vest that is 2 sizes too small over his head, I'm crawling inside the cardboard box, trying not to make a noise. I pull the cardboard flaps shut behind me, fumbling in the dark to find the Geiger counter. I look down at the readout, but there's no light coming from the display. It's dead. On the laptop screen, the 0s and 1s are still scrolling so quickly that they blur into 1, but something's gone wrong. There's no power reaching the Geiger counter. If the banana goes radioactive, then how am I going to know if the universe has split in 2? Scrabbling in the darkness, I feel for the cable that connects the digital radiation detector to the laptop, and my fingers brush against the end of the USB connector. Somehow Dylan must have disconnected it. Hey, where have you gone? I hear my own voice from outside the box, and I don't sound very happy. With a shaking hand, I jab the connector into the USB port of Mum's laptop. With my other hand, I grab hold of the banana, holding it next to the Geiger counter as I mutter under my breath in desperation, "Come on, come on, come on." The side of the cardboard box bulges as bad Albie aims a kick at it. "You!" Then I hear the Geiger counter click, and the world seems to freeze for a millisecond. Somewhere outside the box, I feel a billion invisible elastic bands twang, and then the Geiger counter clicks again, and my evil twin's shout snaps into silence. Crouching there in the darkness, I try and catch my breath. It looks like the quantum banana theory has worked again. The only thing I want to know now is, where am I? So, where is he? It's up to you now to create your own parallel universe. Where has Albie ended up now? You can draw a picture and label it. You can describe it using adjectives, fronted adverbials, verbs. All of that I would love to see. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And we'll see you again for chapter 11.